We're going to demonstrate how to do some vinyl onto a goalie mask. Here's my wide strip for the top of my mask. I'm just going to peel off the backing here. And I want to line it up. Now, even if this touches down, I can pull it back off. It's very forgiving. So the first thing I want to do is line this up straight. I'm going to start at the front. So I'm going to overlap the edge and just kind of seal it there a little bit just to hold it as I pull it back. So now what I'm going to do is I'm using my right hand here to pull back. I want to create some tension on it right down the middle. Once I have it sealed down the middle, now I can push off to the sides to really smooth out any air bubbles. So that's pretty good right there. So now I'm just going to keep coming. Now I'm pushing. I'm not pulling so hard that I'm really stretching it, but I'm putting a good amount of tension on there. And when I create that tension, I'm then pushing down with my other finger to smooth it out. Now if I get a little crease there, an air bubble, I just pull back a little bit to where the air bubble started. And if you get a little ridge in there, like I had there, I have a squeegee here that I use to push these out. You can use a credit card, a driver's license, whatever, just to really smooth this down. So again, I'm pulling back with some tension. If I get a little crease, I just pull it back up. I'm smoothing as I go. Got to go slowly if you want to get all of the creases out. And there I got a couple creases. I'm going to pull back, push down again. This is the hardest part right here on the crown of the mask because it's such a deep curve. So there, I'm pulling back, getting those curves out. Got a tiny little crease there that just rubs right out with the squeegee. Keep pulling, creating that tension, and smoothing as I pull. Smoothing with my thumb when I'm pulling back on the stripe. Okay, I'm almost past the hard part here. Starting to flatten out, which is when things will get a little easier. It's a little awkward to do it this way under the camera, not real close to my body, but I'll make do here. Also, this mask wants to slide away from me. Still pulling my tension. I get a little bit of a crease, pull it back up, go down. You guys, as you see, I got to go a little bit slowly here to make sure I get a nice, smooth, straight application with no bubbles, no seams. Turn this sideways here. I might be coming off my straight lines just slightly here, but I'm doing this quickly for the purpose of the video. And you have a little screw right here. I just want to go right over top of that screw now that I'm to the flat part here. Now I'm just going to rest it real lightly on the top of that screw. If you can remove the screw in your style mask, you can do that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to push it down. You can see an indentation right there. And with this knife, it doesn't have to be perfect because this is going to be covered up with a clip. I'm just cutting with the X-Acto knife loosely around this area. So now you can see that it's going to fall just all around the edges. And pull the rest down. And I'm going to fold it. I'm going to fold this right over the back. The way we handle these edges is you just smooth it down along that outside edge. Take the knife along the edge. Just cut it. You got a nice clean edge right there. This part pops right out. And if you have any of these little openings here for your strap for your back plate, same thing. I'm just going to cut it out. And these don't have to be perfectly cut because you're going to have a clip that's going to hide most of this anyway. So there, I cut this piece out. Pull it up. Get rid of my extra there, and now in the front, I'm going to do the same thing. So I want to push this edge down, right down in there under that little ridge. Now I can smooth the rest of this out. Smooth it out, pull it over the lip, and same thing here. Just going to go ahead, cut it through there, pull off the extra, and I am good to go. So now that I have my wide stripe on, that's most definitely the harder part of this. If I'm doing a wide stripe and two thinner stripes, the thin stripe is going to be a lot easier just because there's less surface area. So I'm going to peel this back, take away my backing, using a white stripe here, and it's going to be the same method here in terms of overlapping. So I'm determining how much space I want. Maybe I want a really thin amount of black space between. I can go in here. If I want wider, I go here. I'm just going to make sure that I match the width apart the whole way back. So that width looks good to me. I'm going to do the same thing here. Just tack it down a little bit. And now as I pull it back and I smooth, I'm paying real close attention to the width of this black space between the two so that it's consistent all the way back. Same thing on my right hand, I'm pulling, creating tension so that it can be smoothed. This stuff is very pliable. It's going to conform to pretty much any shape I want. And I'm just going to keep pulling, maintaining the same gap all the way down as I go. And I'm all the way back. Same thing, I'm going to overlap it. I'm going to trim it in there. A nice little dull. And now I have these little holes in here, the air holes. What I want to do is just push down a little bit on them so I can kind of see the indentation. And I'm going to come in here. I like to start inside of it. Don't start from the outside because it's going to push. I'm going to start on the inside and just cut. And I want the edge of my blade to scrape the edge of the inside of my air hole. So I've almost got it. Keep coming around until I got it all the way. And then you can see that the edge is a little ragged. All you do is you smooth that down and you push it down into the inside. You're going to get a nice clean edge. If you want it even cleaner, you can come back in, scrape around the edge, get it nice and clean the way you want it. Same thing on this one. Come through, and again I want to push it down pretty good so I got a good seal, so when I cut, I'm only cutting the area I want out of there. So that's pretty good. I'm going to push it down in. I got a pretty even stripe. Same thing on the front here. I'm going to just tuck it into that ridge, pull it down, and overlap it. And then what I do is just come again on the inside here, cut across, pull out that scrap. So I got a nice clean edge. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. So now I have my stripes completely in place. If I have any little tiny air bubbles, I just squeegee them right out. tighten everything up. You can also hit this with a little heat if you want. Basically, the properties of this material is when it's heated, it's going to try and conform back to its original state. So the fact that you've stretched it, you heat it, it's going to pull everything back in. So if you do have any little creases, air bubbles, it's going to pull them right out, along with maybe a little help from your squeegee, credit card, driver's license, whatever you use. So now I put a couple stripes here on the chin. I probably normally would have gone down to match this, but just to show something different here, I ran these stripes using the same exact method. I ran them across, cut out my holes. I even cut out the little areas where the screws are going to fit in when I put the cage back on. Same method. I just push it down. You'll see a little bit of puckering, and you'll see a little bit of an outline. I just go in with a knife and cut it out, pull that little piece out. It's not to be perfect because, again, you're going to have a big giant piece of hardware there covering it. No one's going to see that. Same with these cuts here. They don't have to be super clean. If they're not 100% clean, you're going to tuck down anything you have down into that hole anyway. So now what I want to show, I'm going to layer a custom initial set in this case right over top. So it comes here on this carrier paper. Some people like to put it down on the carrier. I actually like to pull it off of the carrier paper. I just feel like it's easier to work with. So you want to do that pretty carefully here so you don't tear the vinyl. But it does release here pretty easily. So I pull that off. Got my PW here, and I'm just going to hold it real kind of lightly. Just hover it over the top to just define my center point. Where do I want to position this? So that looks good, and keeping in mind the cage is going to come down to here. So I want to kind of get it down to the bottom of the chin part as much as I can. That looks pretty good right about there. So now the curve of this chin is going to go obviously back on either side. So I'm going to start with my middle point. Just push that down. And same technique, creating tension, pulling with my right hand, create the tension, and smooth it down with your other hand to get any of those air bubbles out. If you get a little air bubble, a little ridge, you just simply pull it back up and start that area again. This is going down pretty nice. That looks pretty good. Now I'll do the same thing on this. So I'm going to pull it back up a little and just start to smooth this thing down. Pulling back with some tension. Smoothing it down as I go. So there we go. And there's my piece.